Some may not realize how difficult it can be to get a film made, or that sometimes it can be even more challenging to get a film released. From the earliest stages of putting together a script to pre-production, shooting, and post-production, there are a lot of steps that filmmakers have to go through. But no matter how much work goes into a film, not every film has the opportunity to be shown to audiences. There have been dozens of films with A-list stars that never saw the light of day, and even more featuring actors that aren't exactly household names. Some of these films may sound appealing, while others should probably stay lost forever. Here are 10 completed movies that were never released. Fantastic Four. Long before Michael B. Jordan and Chris Evans stepped into the role of Johnny Storm, there was Jay Underwood. That name may not ring any bells, probably because the film never saw the light of day. In the 1980s, German film producer Bernd Eichinger optioned Stan Lee's comic book characters. Because major studios had no interest back then in investing in big-budget superhero films, his deadline to make a Fantastic Four movie was looming as his option approached its expiry date. With the help of B-movie legend Roger Corman, he was able to complete it on a low budget. Although film trailers for Fantastic Four were shown in theaters and even at the 1993 Comic-Con, the film was never released. Eichinger did go on to produce the big-budget Fantastic Four in 2005, and many speculate, including Stan Lee himself, that the 1994 version was never meant to be released, and just made so he could keep the rights to the characters. However, Eichinger denied that this was the case. Bill Cosby, 77. Stand-up comedy films are not for everyone, but when one stars a disgraced legend, they may not be for anyone. Such is the case with Bill Cosby, 77. The film was directed by Robert Townsend during Cosby's appearance at the San Francisco Jazz Center in 2014 on his 77th birthday. The show featured Cosby's traditional brand of clean comedy concerning his marriage and children. Netflix acquired the rights to the 60-minute comedy show, which was slated to be released Thanksgiving weekend 2014. Just hours after former model and reality star Janice Dickinson reported sexual assault from Cosby, Netflix postponed the release of the film. After additional reports were made from other victims, Netflix delayed it indefinitely, and then in 2015, Netflix announced that, yeah, it's never gonna be released. Don's Plum. Never has there been a film that has been so tirelessly prevented from release by its actors as Don's Plum. The name may sound familiar because of a lawsuit filed by producer David Stutman. He claimed that the film's stars, including Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire, were obstructing the success of the film by interfering with its release. Don's Plum was filmed in 1995, so while the actors weren't exactly new to the film industry, they hadn't become the household names they are today. The low-budget Don's Plum was funded by DiCaprio and Maguire for their filmmaking friend R.D. Robb, and was largely improvisational. The actors claimed the film was intended to be a short film and only agreed to do it if it wasn't released in the US or Canada. Once the director began seeking a distributor, Maguire grew concerned about some of the things he had improvised and thought they would tarnish his image. Together with Leo, they worked hard to block the film's release. Very hard. Even years later, when it was released online by filmmakers, they jumped in to take it down. The Day the Clown Cried. Some films become a thing of legend without ever being seen. The Day the Clown Cried is the film comedian Jerry Lewis never wants you to see because it's far too embarrassing. The film's bizarre premise involves a circus clown who's been imprisoned in a concentration camp. Not exactly the best setup for a Jerry Lewis comedy. However, Lewis's intention was to make a drama, which he also wrote and directed, that would hopefully catch the attention of the Academy, and also that audiences would accept him as a serious actor and filmmaker. Once the film was completed, Lewis made little effort to release it, but did plan to show the film at the Cannes Film Festival. It was never shown, though. While Lewis wasn't especially proud of the film, another holdup was one of the story writers. Joan O'Brien refused to sign over the rights to Lewis. Actor and writer Harry Shearer is one of the few people to have seen the completed film. Not surprisingly, he thought it to be spectacular in its failure, and found it fascinating that the film was so unfixable. Since audiences will most likely never get to see The Day the Clown Cried, Jerry Lewis will maintain a reputation for being the lovable goofball and not a terrible filmmaker. Temptation. The 2004 musical Temptation may be the most mysterious film on our list, as there's no evidence of why the film was never released. The film stars well-known Broadway actors Adam Pascal and Alice Ripley. It's based on the tale of Faust, in which a man who's bored with his life makes a deal with the devil. Temptation sets the story as a rock opera, and there's not much dialogue in it. The film also stars Zoe Saldana, who was just hitting her stride as a film star at the time. Temptation was rumored to have been a well-made musical, and even featured live singing, something Academy Award Award winner Les Miserables did years later. Finding information on the film is nearly impossible, and there's no speak of legal issues or disputes, making the film even more of a head-scratcher. The only opportunity audiences were given to view Temptation was the New York Musical Film Festival in 2004. Even with an undeniable audience for movie musicals and a talented cast, it seems for no reason at all Temptation will never receive a theatrical or video release. Weird. Prankstar. At the turn of the 21st century, there was a comedian who found fame by placing his butt on everything he saw. That inexplicably popular comedian was Tom Green. For a brief time, it seemed the wacky Canadian was everywhere. Whether it was his own MTV show or appearances in films like Road Trip, Stealing Harvard, or the much-ridiculed Freddy Got Fingered, he was everywhere. He was even married to the hugely famous Drew Barrymore for a short blink before you missed the matrimony minute. But like any over-the-top comedian, public interest started waning, and he became less exciting and even less relevant. In 2006, Tom Green attempted to change that with his mockumentary Prankstar. The independent film is about two student filmmakers who decide to follow Tom Green around to see what his life is like, only to discover that fame has not been kind to the comedian. After many instances of Green showing sadness due to the public heckling him, the three get into trouble and the adventure begins. The film was promised a release by Green multiple times in 2010. Later, he assured fans the film was completed and would be released in 2011. However, the film has yet to be shown anywhere and has no release date set. What likely happened is that Green couldn't find a distributor. Equally likely, though, is that this is all just one big elaborate prank, and the film never existed. Glitterati. Films adapted from novels are a common practice, but films based on a section of the book the film adaptation chose to forego is a bit unnecessary. One of the most polarizing modern authors is Bret Easton Ellis, known for his novels Less Than Zero and American Psycho, which were both adapted for the big screen. The Rules of Attraction was another film based on his book by the same name. In the film, we get to see a montage of Victor, played by Kip Pardue, on a European journey of debauchery. Apparently, the director Roger Avery filmed over 70 hours of film and planned on using the footage and the additional story of Victor's travels for another film entitled Glitterati. Avery planned on the film bridging the gap between the events of The Rules of Attraction and another Easton novel set to be a film, Glamorama. Since Easton's characters in all his novels live in the same universe and appear or are mentioned in multiple books, the concept was not a bad one. However, Glitterati never received a release, and Bret Easton Ellis states that for legal reasons, and for the lack of a cohesive or interesting plot, he has no intention of releasing Glitterati in any form, and prefers to screen the film sporadically to small groups. Spring Break 83. Spring Break 83 was filmed in 2007, and along with the less than impressive likes of Jamie Kennedy and Sophia Monk, it also includes Lee Majors, Morgan Fairchild, and Eric Estrada. For some reason, John Goodman also agreed to be in this mess of a comedy. The premise of the film is simple, and revolves around four friends who were bullied in high school and seek revenge on their tormentors during college spring break a year later. The film gets an interesting spin by setting it in the 80s, harking back to a more frivolous time of 80s comedies like Revenge of the Nerds and Porky's. The film took 2 years to complete due to multiple shutdowns caused by the production company's inability to pay the crew. Big Sky Motion Pictures announced it would be released in the spring of 2010, but that never happened. Even with its $18 million budget and notable stars, the company has made no efforts to release the film in theaters or video. For those who are interested, there is a trailer floating around the internet which may illustrate why Big Sky Motion Pictures or any other company has not made it a priority. Hippie Hippie Shake. Back in 1998, Working Title Films acquired the rights to Hippie Hippie Shake. It was based on Hippie Hippie Shake, The Dreams, The Trips, The Trials, The Love-ins, The Screw-Ups, The 60s, a memoir written by journalist Richard Neville. The film was expected to begin production in 1999, until Working Title parted ways with Polygram Entertainment. It wasn't until 2007 that the film was brought back to life. Hippie Hippie Shake was back in action, complete with playwright and Billy Elliot scribe Lee Hall's screenplay. It also had Cillian Murphy and Sienna Miller as the two leads. The movie's initial release date in the fall of 2008 was delayed. This was because of controversy around Sienna Miller and her personal life. The creative differences of the director and producer during post-production caused even more issues, delaying the film's release even further. The few critics who were given a screening of Hippie Hippie Shake gave the film fairly positive reviews, citing the performances of Murphy and Miller to be the highlight of the film. Even with the potential for success, Working Title has still decided not to release Hippie Hippie Shake in theaters. Nothing lasts forever. In 1984, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd starred in 2 comedies. One was Ghostbusters. The second was the little-seen independent film Nothing Lasts Forever. The film follows Zach Galligan, best known as the lead in Gremlins, as a pianist who reveals he's a fraud and has been playing a player piano the whole time. For some reason, this causes him to flee to Europe to become an artist, only to return to New York and work menial jobs. He then meets a bus driver, played by Murray, who insists he should travel to the moon to find love. The premise is somewhat complicated, but all in good fun. Bill Murray has stood behind the release of the film for years, but due to legal issues with MGM was unable to show it. The company shelved the film after negative reaction by test audiences and has never relinquished the rights. Although the film will never receive a theatrical release, it's one of the few unreleased films that can be seen. Nothing Lasts Forever was released online and aired on Turner Classic Movies in 2015 as part of the TCM Underground. What do you think of our list? Did we introduce you to films you never knew existed? Are there any good ones we're forgetting? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.